Hello everyone, Exile here. I hope you're all doing good. Today I am back with another episode of the Masteries Reworked. Today it's the part 3. It's the part that is going to focus on Living World Season 3 Masteries. Now, as I told you in the previous video, I expanded them quite a lot. And I went crazy about them, so let me get this straight. Over the course of one patch, which is 2 to 3 months, I think that one mastery tier is really not enough to really delve into the mastery and feel engaged about them. So I thought that I could rework them to put a whole new mastery line per episode, so that we can spend more time training them. Because as of right now, when the patch starts of Living World, and it's also the case for Living World Season 4 that just came out, through the first playthrough of the story, the mastery is complete. Since it's account wide, you don't have to do it again, ever. And I think it's a shame because, like I said, mastery should be character defining, a little bit at least. And if you just complete them the first time, the first day you go through the patch, well, after this, you can't forget about it, and the gameplay it offers you just rolls into the regular gameplay, and you just forget this is a mastery. So that's why I thought a new mastery line altogether per update could be much more interesting, because then you'd have to go through this whole line with all of your characters during this 2 months in order to get the same experience that we got right now with the one tier account wide per patch. So I think it requires a lot more work, and this is where you are going to decide if you want to train all the masteries on every of your characters, or maybe you want to specialize, if I can say, some characters with some masteries. So, as you can expect, there are going to be a lot of changes to the existing mastery line, Ancient Magic. We are going to go from a 6-tier line to 6 lines with 3 to 5 tiers. So, there are going to be a lot more masteries associated with Living World Season 3, as of my version of the masteries, that is. So, as you will see, some of these masteries are things that are already in the game, that I'm going to implement as masteries, and some are absolutely new things that I thought would be good ideas to put as masteries regarding the maps that they are associated with. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into the first line, which is going to be Ancient Magics, but reworked. So basically, what I did with Ancient Magic is only remove 3 tiers of the line to make new mastery lines with them. So the Ancient Magic line, as of my version of it, only has 3 tiers. So the first one is Counter Magic, which can be unlocked with the first episode of the Living World Season 3. The second tier is Spectral Aid, which will be unlocked with the 4th episode. And the third one is Siren of War, which is unlocked with the 6th episode. So basically they're all the same, they all work the same. Counter Magic doesn't really have a requirement. Spectral Aid does, but it's really close to what it is already, except it requires you to go there. You need to speak with Exemplar Colden, with explain to you how does the mastery work. And well, when you will have your experience bar full and the required amount of points, you will have to go speak to this guy and try out the mastery before you can train it. And for the Siren of War, you would only have to travel to the Siren rehearsal area in Siren's Landing and try every chance while you're there. There are 5 NPCs straight up giving you the chance, so you can try them on friends and enemies, so you can see the buffs and the debuffs that they give. That's a good way to learn the mastery. So really, that's it for the Ancient Magic slide. I was also toying with two other ideas for this line. The first one was to put the Unbound Magic Gathering as a mastery. But then I hit the wall because I couldn't really put it before Counter Magic, since Counter Magic is required for a story step in Out of the Shadows. But on the other end, I did not want to put it after Counter Magic 2, because as soon as you get in the map, you want to be able to gather Unbound Magic. So I didn't want to put a mastery before and then you need to train this one to be able to gather Unbound Magic. So I decided to leave it there, but I really wanted to put it as a mastery, so if I was to put it somewhere, I'd probably put it after Counter Magic to be sure no one would be stalled with the stories, because you have to train 2 masteries to continue the story. I think this is not a fun thing to have in the game. And also regarding the Siren of War mastery, I really wanted to make it a whole mastery line, because there are 5 songs and I thought, well, each of the songs could be a mastery, but then again, it didn't really work because how it's implemented in the game, when you interact with the Chancel of Echoes, you gain a random song, right? So if each of the songs were mastery tiers, when you unlock the first example, the first would be the Melandru one. If you only have this mastery unlocked and trained, well, all the Chancel of Echoes would give you this one, but why would it be in a certain order? Why wouldn't it be in another one? So I didn't really know how to implement this as a good mastery. I thought it was only weird, so I decided to leave it there because it's ancient magic, so it fits in the theme of the lines too. So that was the other idea I was toying with, but I didn't really find a good place to implement it as a mastery line, so I left it there. So for my second line of Living World Season 3, I went with Combat Gliding, which is of course what you're thinking it is. It's the 5 skills that you can buy for Unbound Magic in Bloodstone Fen to use while you glide. I really think this is a good idea for mastery, because as you play in the map, you glide a lot, of course, because it's really part of the map, and you use the first skill you unlock, and then I think it just works as a mastery. I really don't know why they put it that way, and I think that since it's unlocked with the first episode, when you also unlock the Counter Magic mastery tier that we just discussed, I think it's fun, because you have to make a choice. You have to choose between do I go Counter Magic first, or do I go Focus Magic and then I go Counter Magic and then I continue my Combat Gliding line. So that's something you have to decide, and I think it can be fun to have a choice between the masteries you want to train. So really the mastery line is 5 tiers. These are the 5 skills that you can already buy in Bloodstone Fen for your glider. So it's really nothing new, you guys all know about it. The first one is Focused Magic. The second tier would be Unstable Magic Volley. The third skill is Pacified Magical Storm. The fourth tier would be the fourth skill, Dogfight of Flight. And then for the fifth tier, you would get Ride the Ley line. So basically that's it for the line. So for the requirements for this mastery line, it would involve first speaking with 2 NPCs, the 2 Asuras that trade in Unbound Magic in the map. So first, for Focused Magic, you would speak with Nato on the Pride of the Pack, because actually this is the guy that sells the skills, so it's a good way to start training these masteries. So you ask him about all this magic, what you can do with it, and he allows you to train the first skill, that is Focused Magic. For the second tier, Unstable Magic Volley, you would need to speak with Scholar Raka in the Haunted Canyons. This guy is the one that sells blood ruby trinkets and backpack. This guy too probably knows about Unbound Magic a lot and what to do with it, so he would let you learn the second skill of Combat Gliding. And then for the 3 other skills, you would need to complete events. that requires you to fight in an highly magical environment. So the first of these 3 fights for the 3rd tier would be to defeat the spirit of Justicar Ablion in the Colosseum. The second fight for Dogfight or Flight would be to defeat the enormous Bloodstone Elemental. And then for the 5th tier, Ride the Leyline would require you to kill the Unbound Guardian at the bottom of the Caverns of the Unseen Light. So the idea behind these requirements is to first get you to know more about Unbound Magic and what you can do with it. And then second, put you in an environment saturated with Unbound Magic so you can imbue yourself with it and gain new skills out of it. So that would be the idea for these requirements for combat gliding. Also, I want to add, before we move on to the next line, that these combat gliding skills that are available always when you glide in Bloodstone Fen would also be available elsewhere. As you know, probably, they are available when you take the ley line in Lake Doric, but only after you take the ley line and until you land. Well, I thought we could broaden that to every other ley line in Living World Season 3 maps. So if you take the ley line above the Sanctuary in Bitterfrost Frontier, well, you would gain access to these skills briefly until you land. The same goes for Draconis Mons, Siren's Landing, or Ember Bay. Alright, so the 3rd line would be the line associated with the 2nd map, Ember Bay. And this one, of course, is the Thermal Propulsion Mastery. So, I really like this mastery because I think it's unique, it gives us a way to travel the map faster, and I wanted to delve into that a little bit more. As of right now, you train the mastery and you can use the thermal tube. And if you use a thermal tube that launches you all the way to another thermal tube, you can chain thermal tubes like this until there is no more thermal tubes to jump in. So as cool as I think it is, I think that a slower progression to attain this final effect could be a lot more interesting. So that's why I thought I could change this mastery into a mastery line. So this mastery line would have 4 tiers. The first tier would be the basic one, Thermal Propulsion. This tier would allow you to use the thermal tubes, but you would only be able to go half the distance the thermal tubes allows us to go right now in the game. So there would be small jumps, well, smaller jumps, because they would still be big distances, but you would not be able to go to the next thermal tube. The second tier would be Propulsion Speed, which would be a mastery that would allow you to use instantly the thermal tubes. As you probably know, in game right now, when you press F near a thermal tube, there's a little charging time, and you can see yourself move underground until you hit the tube and then you launch. Well, with this mastery, you would launch instantly as you press F near the thermal tube. So that would save you some time there. The third tier would be Propulsion Potency. So this one would double the length of your jumps with thermal tubes. So my version of the line would only allow thermal tubes to go as far as they go live in game at the third tier. But like I said, I think this progression it's much more interesting and it's much more engaging. The fourth and final tier is Thermal Resistance. Now the idea of this one is that now that you can go all the way to the next thermal tube, you need to be able to sustain a lot of heat in a short duration to be able to take the next one. I really like how you can chain thermal tubes, just like I said. Now this fourth mastery would be the one that would allow you to do this, because you would resist the heat of the multiple thermal tubes. The requirements for thermal tubes would go a bit the same way the requirements for combat gliding went. So the first tier would require you to speak with Roban, the dwarf head in Cereth Anchorage, because thermal tubes are technically a technology the dwarf use to travel fast. So he must know about that, right? So you ask him about the thermal tubes, he tells you about them, so now you can use them. You get thermal propulsion, the first tier. And then for the 3 other tiers, just like the combat gliding one, you need to put yourself in the environments that would allow you to train the other skills that the mastery teaches you. So for Propulsion Potency, the 2nd tier, you go and defeat the Molten Dominator in the Burning Grotto, so you can see in action what the heat of a destroyer can do when full powered, and you use this knowledge to help you launch even further with thermal tubes, right? After this, for propulsion speed, you get to defeat the Pyroclastic Jade Construct, so you can observe the speed at which this guy uses his skills, and you can learn from that and use it for the thermal tubes. And then for thermal resistance, well, you need to train your thermal resistance, and what better thing than going in the caldera of a volcano and defeating a giant lava worm, right? So you would need to defeat Vermingus in the Fractured Caldera to learn thermal resistance. So the next line is the one that ties to a Bitterfrost Frontier, and just like the combat gliding one, this mastery line has to do with the Flame of Coda. So basically it's the same thing, the 5 skills of the torch you would unlock as masteries. So the first would be Sprint, the 2nd tier Coda's Reach, the next one Enflame, the 4th Coda's Breath, and then Coda's Rebirth, all as masteries. And for the requirements for this one, I think that only visiting a Codan Flamebearer every time you need to learn a mastery would only be the requirement. So you fill your bar, you get enough points, and then to unlock it, you actually need to train with someone who knows the skill. So you go see a Codan Flamebearer because he's the one who can train you, you know. So yeah, that would be the requirements for each and every one of these skills. So I won't spend more time on this because the video is getting long and I am not done yet. So let's move on right now to the next line, which is a new one that I thought would be cool, that I called Cereth Tactics. Since the Head of the Snake patch makes us work closely with the Cereth in Lake Doric, well, I thought I could build my line with the Cereth team. I thought I could use each tier to make us progress in the hierarchy of the Cereth, more or less. Because there are a lot of ranks in the Cereth: Lieutenant, Surgeon, Captain, and many more. So I couldn't make a mastery tier for each of these and make a perk for each of these. So I thought I would just make some basic ranks. So the mastery line would lead us through the ranks of the Cereth, all the way until we are veterans, because we fight alongside them for a long time, and this mastery represents that. So the first tier I called Cereth Recruit, and this one would allow us to gain Cereth Morale on a successful event. So you know this buff you gain when you successfully complete an event in Lake Doric, Cereth Morale. Well, you would require this mastery to acquire stacks of it. You can go all the way to 10 stacks, and you'll see how I play with this later on in the mastery line. The second tier would be Lake Doric Food Expert, because I realized that around Lake Doric there's a lot of things that you can eat. I know it sounds weird, but listen to me. Around the lake there are a lot of fishing cages in which you can find fishes, crabs, or lobsters. I don't remember exactly. Also around the Lakeside Bazaar there are fruit trees, and these fruits you can give to hungry Cereth lying on the ground. Well, I thought that all these fruits and seafood, why not make it so that we can heat them and gain rarer buffs? So I thought that eating these foods could get you something like Aegis, Resistance, or Quickness. The third tier would be Cereth Runner, and this one I thought of it because in all the other maps I realized that there is some kind of way to travel fast. In Bloodstone Fen there are ley lines everywhere. In Ember Bay, there are a lot of thermal tubes that allow you to travel fast. The same goes for Bitterfrost Frontier. There are some thermal tubes, there is a ley line, you can travel quite fast in the map. But in this one, there are ley lines, but they are not always there. So I thought maybe you could gain a massive movement speed buff after completing an event. And I call it Cereth Runner because I thought that with the team of the Cereth, you could be a runner that will run fast to go and tell your Cereth comrades in another outpost that either you won or you failed defending a certain place. So that's why I called it Cereth Runner, because it's some kind of rank in the Cereth. It's like your job to after the ending of an event, go tell your friends if either you were successful or you failed. So I thought the speed bonus would be like something really good, like maybe 100%, but not a long-lasting one. The fourth tier would be Cereth Rations. In Doric's Landing, there is a guy, the Ration Masters, or I don't remember, but for the heart you can bring rations to this guy, and that gave me an idea. I thought that you could place piles of rations around the map in the different outposts, and that those with this mastery could take one of these rations and heat it to gain healing and long-lasting regen buff. Maybe not the regen boon we have in game, maybe another effect, but something that gives you a regeneration effect. And then for the last tier, I thought of Cereth Veteran, which is the second tier that plays with the Cereth Morale effect. So the first tier was Cereth Recruit. It gave us 1 stack of Cereth Morale on a successful event. Well, now with Cereth Veteran, you get 2 stacks of Cereth Morale when you successfully complete an event, and 1 stack when you fail an event. So even if you fail a lot of events, you will still gain Cereth Morale, and you would still be able to build up to 10 stacks in order to gain this massive buff that really helps you fight these white mantles that are everywhere in the map. And what better requirements for this line than to go speak with Logan every now and then, right? So every time your experience bar will be full and you will have the required amount of points, you can go and check out with Logan. That would basically promote you and teach you new tactics that the Cereth use. So that would be it for the Cereth tactics line. Let's now get into my last line before we get a bit of discussion and wrap the video. So the next line is the one associated with the 5th map, Draconis Mons. So the mastery associated with Draconis Mons, as of right now in the game, is Oakheart's Essence. This gives us the ability to pick up the Oakheart's Essence from the ground and use it to pull ourselves to faraway locations. It's a ground targeting ability that basically lets us be Spider-Man. So I thought it was a cool idea and I really liked it, so I kept it that way, but I expanded on it. So since the Oakhart Mastery gives us 1 skill, the Oakhart Reach, I thought I could think of 4 more skills to fill the holes in the skill bar while you have the Oakhart Essence active. So for this line, the first mastery would be Oakhart's Reach, the first skill which does the same. The second tier would be Oakhart's Verdict, which will be a skill that immobilizes your target. And then you can have Oakhart's Will, which is a pull, so you pull your target with the vine. The fourth, I thought of Oakhart's Defense, which would be a world finisher, and while you whirl with the vine, you gain protection and you knock foes back. So that would be a way to defend yourself. And then you have Oakhart's Wisdom for the last tier, and I thought I could go with this. Consume your Oakheart Essence and heal yourself. So if you use this one, you need to find another Oakheart Essence if you want to use the other skills. So as you know, each Oakheart Essence allows you to shoot Oakhart's Reach 3 times. Maybe you can keep the 3 charges there for the whole 5 skills, except for the last one, which consumes it. So that would be the big difference. But for the rest, I think 3 charges is enough, because you don't want the players to be constantly in Olcart's essence. Anyway, it doesn't do much damage. It's only control and protection. So I thought it was a good idea to put those skills in there, because I wanted to have something to do while I run with the Olcart essence, because I need it at a certain spot, you know? When you need to reach the fire shards and these things like this, you need to use this Olcart essence a lot. And when you run around and you get attacked by some mobs while you have the Olcart essence, you can't really defend yourself. So I thought, well, a mastery line could provide skills that would allow the players to defend themselves while they run around with the Olcart essence. So that's why I came up with this mastery line. And I think it would be a good idea, because it's not overpowered, it's really just utility, in fact. So that would not be too much to add to the game. So for Olcart essence, the requirements would be the following. For the first tier, you would need to defeat the Greater Spirit of Nature at the Eternal Pool in Savage Rise to actually gain the ability to harvest the Olcart essence. So you go there, you kill the guy, and then you're imbued with the Druid's magic that he liberates when he dies, right? And then when you have this magic, when you have the ability to harvest the Olcart essence and use it, you need to go speak with 4 other druids around the map, Draconis Mounds, to expand your knowledge of the thing. So for Olcart Verdict, you would need to go speak with Rosewood in Ancient Hollow. For Olcart's Will, you would have to speak with Broadleaf in Savage Rise. For Olcart's Defense, you would need to speak with Lyriodendron near the Peace Grounds in Savage Rise 2. And for Olcart's Wisdom, you end this by speaking with Kodama in Druid's Grotto. So, quick and easy, you first gain the magic from a druid that you fight, and then you expand on this magic by speaking with other druids that can explain to you how it works and what you can do with it. So, as I said at the beginning of the video, I left Siren of War in the Ancient Magics line because I didn't know how to make a good mastery line out of it. So it leaves myself with no mastery line for the 6th map. So I thought about it, and I didn't know what to do. I know that you can harvest a ley organ from the ley line scavengers in the Siren's Landing, and it gives you 5 skills. So I thought, oh, maybe I can turn this into a mastery line. But you kind of need most of these skills quite early in the playthrough, so making it into a mastery would not work necessarily well. So I thought I would leave it there because I could not make a good mastery out of it. And the same goes for Siren of War, just like I said. So I don't really have a mastery line for Siren's Landing and One Path Ends. So this is only going to be Siren of War, which is only 1 tier, and I know this is what I wanted to avoid by reworking the Living World Season 3 Masteries. But I think that it's better to have only this one than having a bad mastery line. So that's why I'm gonna leave it there. Also, I was toying with the idea of making a mastery line to harvest the special nodes in each of the maps. So with each of the episodes, you would unlock a tier of the mastery line that would allow you to gather bloodstone crystals from Bloodstone Fen, petrified wood stumps from Ember Bay, winter berries from Bitterfrost Frontier, and so on. I kind of like this idea, but I don't know if the community would like it as much as I do, because as soon as you get in the map, you want to begin harvest these things because you need them to buy the special things that are sold only in this map. So you want to harvest them right away. You don't want to wait for mastery to complete, and then you can start gathering them, and then you can start looking at the items that you can get for them. So I scrapped the idea of a gathering mastery line, and that left me with this. The 6 lines: Ancient Magics, Combat Gliding, Thermal Tubes, Flame of Coda, Cereth Tactics, and Oakheart's Essence. And these all follow the same rule as before with my other reworked masteries. The first tiers of all of these lines would require only 1 point, the second tier only 2 points, the third tier only 3 points, and so on. So if you want to compare, with the official Central Tyria Masteries that requires 49 points, and the Heart of Thorns Mastery that includes Ancient Magics, which requires 144 points, in the game right now, to train them all, you need 193 Mastery points. With my versions of Central Tyria, Heart of Thorns, and the Living World Season 3, you need 161 points. So you need less points, less experience, but you need to do them on every character if you want the same experience. So I think it's a good balance. Maybe once in the game it would not be exactly a good experience, a good balance. We will never know that, but I think that it would be pretty cool if it would be like this in the game. For the rest, there could be some dailies. For the combat gliding one, it could be the same as the one from Bloodstone Fen. Use your combat gliding abilities, but this time you would need to do it on different maps. Because as I told before, in every map of Living World Season 3, as soon as you enter a ley line with your glider, you would gain these abilities. So you would be able to use them on every map. Also, we have thermal tubes that would also be used thermal tubes in different maps. So you have 3 maps throughout Living World Season 3 that have thermal tubes. So you could complete it like this. And then we have Flames of Coda. So you would have to defeat a certain amount of enemies using the Flame of Coda. After this, we have Cereth Tactics. So this one would be completing events on behalf of the Cereth. And then for Oakheart's Essence, that would only be use the skills of your Oakheart's Essence 10 times or 15 times, something like this. And for the Ancient Magics line, before I forget, well, you would only have to use the 3 abilities that are given to you through this line. So you would need to counter a magic ability, you would need to sing a song as a siren, and you would need to go downstate and use your Signet of Agony. I think that the daily mastery is a good idea to make my system work, but I have a hard time finding good dailies, so they are a bit basic and flavorless, but for my system to work, I kinda need them, so I still share with you my ideas on them. There is also one last thing that I'd like to discuss, and it came up with the Oakheart's Essence Mastery when it came out with the fifth update, Flashpoint. It's because these are new masteries, and these are really fun masteries, but we can only use them in specific maps of Living World Season 3. So we train them, but they are not of use anywhere else, right? So I thought I could think of a way to fix that a little bit, but it doesn't work for every of my mastery lines, so I'm gonna explain it to you, and I'm gonna share with you my thoughts on that. So for the combat gliding, I already told you I would fix this problem. Every line you enter a ley line, you gain these skills, and when you land you lose these skills, except in Bloodstone Fen, where there is a lot of magic, so you always have these skill actives. For the thermal tubes, it's not that big of a problem because there are already 3 maps where you can use them: Ember Bay, Bitterfrost Frontier, and Draconis Mountains. So I think it's already not so bad. The big problem are flames, the Flame of Coda and the Occult Essence, and also Cereth Tactics. So for the Flame of Coda, I thought that we could just put some Coda's Brazier in outposts where the Codons are in the Shiver Peaks. So in Snowden Drifts, you have one or two places where there are Codons. You could place a Brazier there, and also in Frostgorge Sounds there are a lot of Codons, so you could put Braziers on the different sanctuaries. That would give the opportunity for the players who have trained this mastery to use it somewhere else in the open world, and for the players who don't have the mastery to see that there is something to gain in getting the Living World Season 3. Cereth Tactics would be the same, so anywhere the Cereth is present in outposts, in Gendaran Fields or Arati Interland, those with the mastery could gain Cereth Morale and Cereth Runner. The Lake Doric Food Expert and Cereth Rations would be specific to Lake Doric. And then for Occult Essence, this one is tricky because it breaks a lot of things when used in another map than Draconis Mons that was designed with it in mind. So my first thought was to put some Occult Essence in the regions of the Maguma Jungle. Now the heart of Maguma, the Maguma Jungle. But maybe this would break too much jumping puzzles or things, so maybe this is not a good idea. Maybe some Occult Essence in the heart of Maguma would be a good idea, but again, I'm not sure if it would break something, so this one I really don't know how to fix. But again, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this, because that is what this video is about. And, well, that brings it to an end, actually, so thank you a lot, everyone, for listening. This was the part 3. I'm gonna come with another video about Path of Fire Masteries, but I'm still wondering if I wait for Living World Season 4 Masteries to be completely out, or maybe I would do 2 different videos about them, so I still don't know. But definitely I will continue this series as new masteries are put out, so thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.